Remember this guy?
I don't need you to explain to me anything. Your explaining is enough, sir. I don't need you to explain to me. You're talking down to me. I can combine whatever I want because I'm a man. I'm fluid and dynamic. I'm not bound by the words of other men in this realm, sir. You're not my God, sir. You want to be. You desperately want to use your firearms and backup to dictate what I will do and won't do based on what other men wrote down. I don't follow the dictates of other men and women in this realm, sir. I have a conscience connected to the Most High.
That's Paul from the Paul Unslaved channel. You guys requested that I do a live stream interview with him, and that's exactly what we're gonna do.
Hey guys, before I get into today's video, here's a shout out for this video's sponsor. When the shit hits the fan and the power goes out, one of the things you're gonna need is an ultra bright flashlight and a power bank to charge your devices. This is the indoor-outdoor light bug work light. It's got a solar panel to turn sunlight into storable, usable energy, or you can charge it with a regular wall outlet. The adjustable bracket allows you to hang it, hold it in your hand, or get the perfect light angle on a table. It comes in handy for car repair, fishing, hunting, and camping. And check this out. I fully charged this thing, turned it on, and left it on the counter, and it shined for over 5 hours. Grab a couple of them for family and friends. Your link is in the description. And our guest today is, let me bring him on right now. Let's see. I'm new to this Zoom thing, so just got Zoom today. Let's see, I got to expand this out. Our guest is ask to unmute. Come on.
Unmute.
Oh, there we go. That was me. That was my fault. Okay, there we go. Novice on board tonight. This is Brian. I'm Brian Young, your host. I have no idea what I'm doing, but we are going to talk to somebody about something. He knows exactly what he's talking about, and this is Paul Unslaved. Welcome aboard, Paul. Thanks for being here.
Greetings.
I've been looking forward to this all week, man. There's a lot of people who really want to hear what you got to say. And if you don't know who Paul Unslaved is, let me introduce you by way of this 1 and 49-second clip where he's talking to these Colorado cops. And guys, everything that you're seeing right here is not about putting anything over on anybody. It's about standing up for what we all have, including what the law enforcers have as individuals. Check this out.
The law of the land and universal law applies to men. You swore an oath to uphold the Constitution, not to uphold policy and procedure over the Constitution. Legislation does not make law for men and women. They make policy and procedure for the citizens.
If you carry a firearm openly in this city, you will be charged.
You're carrying a firearm openly in the city? You're carrying a firearm openly in the city. So you have more rights and abilities than the men and women who pay for your job and who you serve.
Are you going to ask me that stupid question?
It's a perfectly logical question. You have weapons. You just said it's against the law.
So we're given certain rights. We're given certain authority.
Oh, I thought you were given duties, obligations, and responsibilities, but according to you, agent and agency's given rights. Tell me more. They're saying on record, we need to get their dereliction of duty in line because they're saying policy overrides the law of the land. That's an issue.
Did you get his name?
The law of the land is freedom from search and seizure to access to people's property. This is men and the Constitution, sir. The thing you swore to uphold, the Fourth Amendment, sir.
So then say the Constitution. Don't say the law of the land.
The Constitution is the law of the land, sir.
The Constitution is the Constitution.
The Constitution and Declaration of Independence are the law of this land that are backed by the Supreme Court. They uphold God's law, sir.
Can I tell you something that I'm observing?
I didn't ask you for what you observed, sir. You already gave me an attitude and ego. This man has been respectful, honest, open.
I want to explain to you why I have that.
I don't need you to explain to me anything. Your explaining is enough, sir. I don't need you to explain to me. You're talking down to me. I can combine whatever I want because I'm a man. I'm fluid and dynamic. I'm not bound by the words of other men in this realm, sir. You're not my God, sir. You want to be. You desperately want to use your firearms and backup to dictate what I will do and won't do based on what other men wrote down. I don't follow the dictates of other men and women in this realm, sir. I have a conscience connected to the Most High.
And that voice belongs to our guest tonight, and that is Paul Unslaved. And I saw somebody at Overpriced Salami said in the chat room, Paul runs verbal roughshod over all these law enforcers, these costume clowns. And really, I think I could speak for Paul when I say that's really not what, yes, he does do that, but that's really not what it's all about. It's about bringing the mind of that cop out of his uniform onto the human plane where we all operate, and trying to get everybody to understand we all must operate and be in concert with this one law, and that's the universal law of the land. Am I wrong, Paul?
Absolutely not. This is not while I do at times, like any other being who takes on a flesh suit, I get caught up at times. I'm subject to ego and to competition and games, but overall, that's not what I'm trying to do. So in a way, the video I did yesterday, I could say was not my best work, because I did get caught up in the frustration a little bit, right? And this is not an us versus them thing. This is, like he said, we have a Colorado Constitution. It gives us certain duties, obligations, responsibilities, and abilities. And I have it right here, and at some point we're going to get into it, because I came to the conclusion yesterday that that building I was attempting to walk into was more free than I am, because according to the Constitution and what they're telling me, I have a right to be secure in my person's papers and effects, right? So that wasn't upheld. However, the security of the building was upheld. So apparently the building has more rights than I do at this point. And then that's what this is about, right? It's not about me and them.
Yeah, and I think outside of health, and I'm not even so sure about this because it all works hand in hand, outside of your own body and what you do with your own body and being healthy in it and having a sound mind, I can't think of anything more important to talk about than our individual freedoms. Because if we lose our individual freedoms, we have, all bets are off. We've lost everything. And that's what we see people doing constantly, is just wholesale giving away their freedoms. So I think a lot of people have a question on how in the world did you get started down this road doing what you're doing right here? Because it's highly effective. We saw you at a traffic stop get out of a possible ticket, getting your vehicle impounded and getting you thrown into a cage simply because you didn't have a driver's license, registration, and proof of insurance. How did you start down this path?
Well, now let's be clear, because like you just said, Brian, I didn't get out of anything. I compelled them to uphold the law. But this is the perspective and the perception that we've had for so long drilled into us, that I was getting away with something while, you know, in actuality, we were all upholding the law that day. So this starts with a lifelong journey of questioning people, trying to tell me what to do, from parents, teachers, from the account that I got from, you know, nurses, even when I was born, you know, days old and weeks old, because I was born under certain troubling circumstances where I had to be kept in machinery and all types of other things. But yeah, pretty much from day one, man, I've either had that spirit or that programming that I wasn't going to do what other people tell me to do just because they told me to do it. If not, they were going to harm me, right? They had to give me a reason pretty much from day one why I was going to do what they tell me to do. Has to make sense to me. Has to be logical, sensible, moral, ethical. You know, even when I was engaged in immoral activity, wrong behaviors, I still had a sense of this is okay because my ego wanted it, but that stuff over there isn't okay. Something gives us all that sense, right? So that was the biggest part. And then a decade of studying, taking little pieces from everywhere, and then incorporating it, applying it once I got sick and tired of it. You know, once I saw the COVID regulations and Agenda 2030, as they say, and all the other new normal, new world order infrastructure setting up shop, I said, well, now's the time, right? Now's the time. We have to speak now or forever hold our peace. And that kind of kicked me in the ass, you know, got me to move forward and really start applying this information and establishing who and what I am in this room.
You know, I'm really glad you touched on, you know, the Great Reset, Agenda 2030 and all that, because in this video right here that I'm pulling up on the screen, I don't know if you can see it, Paul, but the name of the video from Paul's channel, by the way, if you're just joining us, this is It's Paul Unslaved from the It's Paul Unslaved channel. And the name of this video right here is called Police Stop, No License, Registration, Insurance, or Tags, Right to Travel Success. In this video right here, it's 32 minutes long, but in this 32 minutes, Paul manages with logic, reason, and I contend with love and compassion and understanding for the law enforcer who wasn't on that level of knowledge that Paul was. He was trying to bring him along so that I truly appreciate that correction, Paul, about trying to get out of stuff. It's really not that. It is about trying to man, it's so funny that I'll continue to, as long as I've been doing this, I'll continue to use terms that I know I shouldn't be using, and it just adds a layer of confusion to the entire thing that we're trying to unconfuse and unwind. But what I was trying to say
that's good though, Brian, because, and I don't mean to stop you, that's good though, because it shows everyone out there, you could do this for a lifetime and still, right? Because again, most of us don't come out of the womb this way, but you wake up at a certain point, as they say, it just goes, it's more evidence to show that mind control is real. that we know better, we act it, we live it, but still what's drilled into our brain and our subconscious, into our, you know, lexicon is a language of being guilty and defensive.
Well, and being slaves, and thus your channel, Paul Unslaved, and that's what we all have to do, is remove the shackles, take the key that we all have in our hand, put it in the lock, open it up, and just be free. And the grave irony in this whole thing is that when you're talking to these law enforcers who want you to be in bondage, they themselves are in the very bondage that they're putting you in. And that's what I like about this whole thing, is you brought it full circle to educate the cops, to actually be the best friend that you could possibly be to them, more of a friend than probably anybody else in their life, because you're dropping some just life-changing knowledge on them. And then you wrap the whole thing up with a huge bow on top of, hey, this is going to affect us all, man. You talk about you have to pay high food prices just like I do. They're going to be empty shelves for you just like there is for me. We all better get together on this thing.
And exactly, and that's why it's exactly not that thing. And I get it, we can have some fun, just like I'm sure when they go back to the break room, they say, you know, hey, the chubby kid, Paulie, who just came in here, we really showed him, huh? And I get it, everyone wants to play ego games. We can all do that, as long as above it all, you know, that conscience is upheld. And that's why, again, that's an individual choice. So all I'm doing is giving the individual the opportunity to say, listen, I'm not here under nobody's auspices. This is me, I'm doing my own thing, I'm accountable to me and the Most High. So are you, but you put a uniform on. If you want to like that career and you want that uniform to mean something and command respect and have integrity, the man in it is going to have to hold himself accountable and responsible to the truth and what's right. So I am not an enemy. I am your best friend. And like you said, I am the only one in your life, even all your buddies in the break room who want to continue to do wrong and not question. I am the one who's giving you the opportunity. I'm just one man. You know, if I'm wrong, then I will be shown. If you want to do harm to me, you're going to do it to me. I can't stop it. So you got me there. But the words that I speak and the truth I reveal, you will have to sit with, and you will have to look at, and you will have to live by it or ignore it. And there will be consequences. So understand this work is done out of true love and true care and compassion and true self-respect. If you want to feel and be a part of the power that I have in a cell naked or out on the street, you're going to have to get in line with that eternal truth, that energy. You're never going to have that power with guns and a utility belt and 6 guys behind you. It's never going to happen. You could do all the harm you want to me in the world. You're never going to respect yourself. You're never going to like the life that you live. And you're never going to be fully able to love and be connected to your fellow human beings.
And that's the kind of truth that a friend does deliver to the friend. And just to take a scriptural passage out, wounds from a friend can be trusted, but an enemy multiplies kisses. In other words, a friend will wound you with the truth, because once you get hit with the truth, you internalize truth, and that scar starts healing. Then you have that life-saving truth inside of you that's going to just completely revolutionize your life. Whereas when the enemy kisses you, he's doing it with kisses of deceit, saying that he's your friend, giving you all the wrong information, bad knowledge, so that you can live a life that's enslaved. I think that's well said. So let me ask you a question. Why are you right? I mean, when you get into these interactions with law enforcers or judges, or you're at the building, the state building in Colorado, what makes you right, and why should people listen to you?
Because what I am speaking is an eternal truth that has been the same since humans have come into this realm, or been, however, whatever, the narrative is that we got here, however that took place. Since we became aware of ourselves and each other, it has always been an eternal truth that no man or woman has a right to rule over or to take control of any other equal in this realm. And since all men and women are created equal as codified in the Constitution, right? We're talking about God making law here. This is what I tried to explain to the man yesterday. Legislators don't make law. God in the universe makes law. You can't make gravity, and you can't unmake it. You don't make law, okay? Nature, as the Supreme Court judge said, man is only responsible and accountable to laws prescribed by nature. That means natural law, universal law. So we get off our ego trip and recognize we're all subject to the same laws in this universe, and the same conscience and the same objective logic. If you're willing to use it and look at it, there is no more of this suffering. But again, I forget the question that you had asked. But
well, what makes you right? Because of course there's going to be detractors, yeah. And I think the question is logical and sound: is why should we listen to Paul? Why is Paul right and these law enforcers are wrong?
Well, yeah, you would have to go to the Constitution, you would have to go to the state constitution, which I have before me, and the officer said I should carry with me, so I will take his advice as he was mocking me. I will carry it with me from now on. This way I can read to you that the Colorado state constitution mirrors the same thing as the federal constitution. The people shall be secure in their persons, papers, homes, and effects from unreasonable searches and seizures. No warrant to search any place or seize any person or thing shall be issued without describing the place to be searched. You know what that means? It means you can't search me without a warrant. It means you can't prescribe a search at the door unreasonably, objectively. That's not objective reasonableness. That's subjective reasonable. You say the times and the days that we live in, it only makes sense that everybody should have to give up their rights, so we should be kept safe. You all have guns. That means I should be able to have guns. You have guns to keep yourself safe and other people. I have guns to keep myself and other people safe. You don't take a right off me and keep a right and require a search of me just because I'm not one of you. That is subjective reasonableness. It's not objective reasonableness, as states in any kind of reason to move forward in their judicial canons, in their law books, in their constitutions. So you got to know what you're talking about if you're going to talk it, because then all that winds up happening is I'm one man armed with the truth and your information, and you're just a man armed with weapons and people behind you and a corrupt process.
And let me just bounce one thing off of you for clarification. The reason you would appeal to the Constitution, which is merely men's words written on parchment 240-something years ago, the reason you would appeal to that is, number one, the cops or judges or congressmen or senators swore an oath to protect, defend, and uphold that Constitution. Number two, it corresponds with what natural law already teaches. So it's just a reiteration or a codification of what natural law actually states. Am I wrong there?
Exactly. If I was to go into the Constitution, right, there's certain parts of the Constitution or versions of the Constitution where they talk about black folks being 3/5 of a man. Do you think I'm going to sit here and quote that as a law? No, because I have conscience and common sense, and I have the ability to be objective. That means I could put myself in someone else's position and say, if this was going on to me, would this be okay, true, and right? Absolutely not. It's ego, it's games, it's nonsense. So again, first, in order to apprehend the truth, you first must have to do self-work. That's why the majority of people cannot apprehend truth through their perception, because they have not done the self-work necessary as a prerequisite to apprehend objective truth. They are subjectively apprehending truth. This is true to me and my friends and my buddies, my coworkers. And objective truth can be explained using objective logic, and it is true everywhere at all times, and it is immutable.
Examples of self-work. You mentioned self-work. What are some examples? How do people do that?
Self-accountability, accountability, the ability to account for the responses you have taken, like responsibility, the ability to respond to what life presents you. So every time life presents you something and you respond, most people don't, they react. But let's say you do sit down, think, and choose a response. You have to be able to account for that response later and to something higher and bigger to yourself. We can say God of the universe, we can say our conscience, right? But you can't just walk around thinking you're going to do whatever you want to do because no one's made you stop. You have to be the self-governor. You have to be the one to make yourself stop. Not everything you can do, you should do.
My girlfriend and I were watching your one of your videos, and you said that thing about responsibility, the ability to respond. And in this case, in the case of responding rightly, the ability to respond with conscience, the ability to respond with self-reflection and introspection, and wondering, hey, okay, if I do this to somebody else, is that the same action I want done to myself? And that, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but that seems to me the gist of exactly what you're trying to do when you're talking to law enforcers. You want them to have the mindset of, hey, what I'm about to do as a badged law enforcer of the state of Colorado or New York or Los Angeles or whatever, would I want this action done to my mother or somebody that I love or to myself? Am I off there, or is that the gist of it?
Absolutely, because, and again, this is not a down enforcers or down a public servant. This is human condition. We're all subject to the same levels of trials and tribulations and having to come to new understanding. So again, empathy is something in modern day society that we lack. We're short on empathy, the ability to connect with others and really see and feel what others are going through. Right? So again, it comes back to narcissism, self-service, competition, being competent. Most people think they're incompetent because they're weak if they care about others as they're trying to screw them out of that big deal in the corporate office. You know, so we've set up a society where lack of empathy is a positive trait and a strength. Little did we know that it's a strength in commerce, but in the human world, in the human interaction, it is a weakness. And furthermore, I'll contend it's not really a strength in commerce, because one who really cares about what's true and what's right will do good business. And by doing good business, they will get word of mouth business. And by doing that, everyone will want to deal with them. See, again, you cannot escape the law. The best thing about the law is it's immutable, and when applied, it will give you results, right? Just like the guy was saying to me yesterday, projecting on me, you're doing this all for money. I was doing this, getting put into a cage when there was nothing and nobody. So please don't project onto me what you do. You're here for a paycheck. You're here to overthrow law for policy and procedure, because someone will cut you a check, right? So what did I get from the response of the work that I did based on universal law? My people supported me. Every single one of my brothers and sisters out here has been sending me donations because they love me and care about me, and they feel the truth that I'm talking. So you want to tell me, why should people listen to me? Well, look at the fruits. By the fruits, you will know them. And look at the reactions and interactions they get from other people. Look at the level of low respect. You know what they get? They get people telling them, thank you for your service. Because that's all the sheep know how to say, because that's what they've been trained to say when they see somebody in uniform, so they don't get beat on and arrested. I'm sorry for getting loud, Brian, but I'm a little bit passionate today.
No, hey, man, I appreciate anybody who's going to be themselves, and I especially appreciate that when somebody is their self, when they talk, they're talking for the benefit of everybody, not just so that you can be heard. So I love it, man. I love it. So let's talk about an aspect of this. When you get pulled over by the police for, I'm going to just say driving, what's the thought process? A lot of people in my audience are like, hey, what is that paper that he had in his hand that he was going to give to the cops? You know, Supreme Court cases. What exactly are you referring to? What's the message? What's the difference between driver and traveler? Do we need to have a license when we drive or travel? I mean, parse all this stuff out for us, because it can be confusing to people who are just, you know, starting out on that road.
The magical paperwork, Brian. Everyone wants to know. They all keep asking, what's the magical paperwork you handed them? It was literally pretty much nothing other than like 3 definitions. And there might have been one Supreme Court, because I messed up in preparing my stuff. But the reason why it worked was because that supervisor was, I don't want to use strong spiritual language here. I'll bring it down a little bit. The supervisor was connected by universal law and was compelled to respond for whatever you believe that was, you know, made happen. But that first individual had no understanding, and he was going to continue with his training, right? So there was a lot of aspects and elements that had to happen for that to go the way it did. But that's why the universe was backing me at that time. Even the shirt I was wearing, I had the Freedom shirt on. Everything came together. You know, there's no mistakes, there's no coincidences. So your biggest power in this world is going to realize there is no mistakes, there are no coincidences. You will get the results of the cause and effect of the law of this realm. So if you stay balanced, if you understand your own psychology and their psychology, if you operate from that and the truth, and you continue to stand on it, there's nowhere they could go other than to do harm to you, in which case they bear the liability. So that paper was pretty much useless. But what I will have going forward, and what I will provide for people, is the Supreme Court decisions. There's about 20 of them saying that the public roadways are for the express usage of the people. It's their right to use them uninfringed, untaxed, unlicensed, the whole deal. And then
hey, can I give you, ever since I got exposed to you, one of the coolest ones that I had ever seen, and I had never seen it before I saw your video, was Self versus Ray, which says, this is a U.S. Supreme Court decision from 1959 called Self versus Ray, and it literally says, and I quote, "The common law is the real law, comma, the supreme law of the land. The codes, rules, regulations, policies, and statutes are not
for internal
the law."
Policy only, it even says in there, Brian, if I'm correct, because I want to check my memory here, because I need to get better at memorizing all this stuff. Like he said, you need to have it right here in front of me. So I believe further in that decision, it says the statutes, codes, and policies are not laws. They are for internal policy, for internal regulation only, meaning for agent and agencies. And that's where the deception happens, because we have been turned from men and women into agent and agencies of the principle.
Is this all, actually, you know what, before I move on, because I had an original question for you, what is the difference between a traveler and a driver? Why, maybe first of all, why are those terms so important? Are those terms important?
All law is expressed, not implied. So the words that you use are going to dictate your standing. and your ability to respond, because you have to demonstrate that you have an understanding and an overstanding of the process and procedure of this land. So again, ignorance of the law is no excuse. Let he who wishes to be deceived be deceived. There's certain maxims, if you go read in law, there's rules they're playing by, and they're saying if you're too dumb, and listen, I can get on board to a degree with the idea of purification through suffering. Lucifer has a form and function here. The devil has a form and function here. It's going to get everybody to be a real man and woman by the end of the day. You want to come into court, lie, and play games, and insult people's intelligence, and hire a representative to talk for you. They don't respect you, and they shouldn't respect you. You walk in there, you uphold the law, you tell the facts of the matter. If you harm somebody, you compensate them. You do what's right. You present a man in court, and you know what? They got to respect you. And if they don't, then they're bad. So again, I don't victim for other people who want to take the easy way out in society and in life and think that they're going to reap the benefits and privileges of this society while also being bad people. That's why we get a lot of the responses we've gotten and the system we have, because we have not seen men and women come into court and stand as men and women. We see a bunch of children of the state who don't know how to conduct themselves, are not account able and not response able, and that's why their masters are the same way. You get, again, like the founder said, the people get the government that they deserve, right? It's absolutely true. So when you start presenting and carrying and conducting yourself a certain way, your results will change. Change yourself, you'll change the universe.
Ryan in North Carolina says, comprehending, not understanding.
There you go, comprehension. You know, in everyday language, understand means do you comprehend? You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I understand.
Yeah.
That means do you comprehend, right? Understand means to stand under. So that means we're putting something out there. If you say you understand, then you stand under that, and we're going to hold you to it.
By the way, guys in the chat room, if you want to ask a question of Paul, just lay it on me in the chat room, and I'll convey that onto him. So is it important to use driver or traveler versus driver? And if so, how does that work? And I'm glad that you said that about your stop, is that everything coincided, everything aligned, because it could have gone south. It could have ended up in your car being impounded and you being in jail, right? Just as easily as it went right.
Of course. But again, you know, my journey is not separate from the journey, and both came together because this sphere that's opened up for me in the public, the ability to create a living, to help others, to win all the way around based on what's true and what's right. This is what needed to happen in my life, you know? So I don't want to get into, you know, what I did or didn't do for a long time. But again, everything came together to show me and validate to me, listen, Paul, you are of value to your community. You have value in this world and in this society. You can be something bigger and better than you ever thought, you know, because I was struggling with that. I didn't believe that there was a place for me, that anybody would ever accept me or respect me in the world, right? In the corporate world or in whatever world you want to call it. I always thought that I was going to be a misfit, an outcast, and a lowlife. And now I've come to see that's my issues that I had to work through. I do have power. I do have the truth. The truth is not mine, right? But the truth is the all-powerful. So I let it work through me, and it creates everything that I need, including that interaction to be on camera to show other people, listen, this is the power that we have. And there's a lot of coulds, shoulds, and maybes. But again, if you really care about something, if something is really true and what's right, you'll be willing to die for it, let alone lose some of your property and go sit in a cage for a little bit.
Guys, thanks for watching my video. If you enjoy this content, subscribe to the channel, hit the bell notification icon, give it a thumbs up, share it with everybody you know, and don't forget to subscribe to my private email list through my website, highimpactflix.com. That way we can stay in touch in case they decide to completely eradicate this channel, which I'm very close right now. Also, don't forget to subscribe to me on my private members-only upload site, highimpacttv.com, and on Odyssey and BitChute. All my links are in the description below. If you want to support this channel further, the Patreon, PayPal, Bitcoin, and Subscribestar links are also in the description. Or grab a hard-hitting, conversation-starting shirt. I'll see you guys in the next heavily censored, shadow banned, 100% demonetized video.